Muted.
Minesh has been, basically as part of the core, what we do in the core coaching. Minesh has done so much with the core in regards to DISC profiles, how teams interact, how teams relate, how teams function. So Minesh is going to kind of go through and educate us on basically what our DISC profiles mean and how we might be able to work better as a team. So Minesh, with that, I'm going to just send it off to you. Are you ready?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Okay, we can.
Okay, good, fantastic. Well, Sam and Bill, thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. And if any, obviously by now people can guess that I was not born in California. I was born in a city. I was born in a city called Agra. Anybody know where Agra is and what it is famous for?
No.
No. Agra is in India. How many of you heard of Taj Mahal?
Yep.
Trump.
Yep.
Towers.
So New York Times crossword puzzle quite often has this question about the four-letter word where Taj Mahal is. So now at least you can fill that question out in the crossword puzzle, A-G-R-A, Agra. Anyway, I'm excited about the opportunity. Yeah, and obviously because I speak fast, I'm very passionate about what I speak, and my accent is different. If at any time you feel you are not able to follow me, stop me, interrupt me, and I'll repeat it. Unfortunately, in the same accent. Okay, so I'm going to have some fun. So I hope you all join me in having some fun. Okay?
We're ready.
Exactly. Friday, come on. What are you doing, right? And but I do want to thank Sam and Bill for the opportunity. The core has been just a fun part of my business, meeting people like them, because they are committed to growing themselves, and in the process, build bigger teams, successful teams, and needless to say, your team is one of the best in the country, which is why you are part of the core and you are learning from the core. For people who are not as familiar with the core and you're just getting some exposure through the training that Sam and Bill are going through, you could not be with a better team than you are with. And I'm not saying that lightly, because I've worked with a lot of different teams around the country, and I want you to take pride in belonging to this team for a number of reasons. Number one is your leaders have a vision and they are committed to being the best. Okay, that is the number one thing, you should know that. Number two, they are working on themselves and setting an example for the rest of the team. And number three is they see each and every one of you as part of fulfilling the vision of the entire team. So each one of you has a place in the team in order to fulfill your vision and the vision of the team. And that's really why you should feel very grateful to be on this team. And I'm excited about sharing some ideas to improve whatever you can in this team. Any comments or questions on that?
Nope.
No, we're grateful.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Very good. What am I going to cover today? Before I give you the agenda, let me make a promise. It's a bold promise. The bold promise is that if you engage with total attention, I guarantee you by the end of this conversation, you will have at least one insight that will dramatically impact your personal and professional relationships. And I guarantee that for one simple reason. I come from a fundamental belief, and I know Bill and Sam believe this as well, is the quality of life is determined by the quality of relationships. Let me repeat that. The quality of life is determined by the quality of relationships. So let me give you a quick example. Suppose in the morning, let's assume you are married. I've been married for 23 years. I have a 7-year-old and a 12-year-old. okay? And if in the morning I have a tiff with my wife before starting the day, how is my day going to go? Any guesses?
Bad.
Badly.
I didn't start out on the right foot, correct? Okay?
Correct.
So if my relationship with the key people in my life isn't going well, whether it is my wife, my children, my siblings, my boss, or whoever else the person might be in your life, right? Does that not affect the quality of our life?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to me, you could not be putting enough time, energy, and effort in mastering relationships. You cannot. Why? Because everything you do in life eventually comes from the basis of relationships. Sam and Bill are in the coaching program with the core, and the fundamental promise of delivering great results within the core is by building profound, deep relationships with your employees, clients, and referral partners. Would you agree with me on that, Bill and Sam?
100%.
Definitely.
Exactly. Exactly. I believe in that 100% because when my relationship with my clients, team members, and referral partners, they're all going well, my business is doing well as well. Okay? So whatever we are going to touch upon today will make a profound impact in your personal and professional life just because this is fundamental information. Now again, I want to make sure you understand this. This is not Minesh speaking in terms of the concept. These are time-proven concepts. It's just like the law of gravity. I can choose to ignore it. I can choose to debate it. But when I jump from Empire State Building, the law wins every time, right? Okay? I cannot argue with it because the reality exists. Relationships are in the same mode, and we will talk about the relationship and the DISC part as well. So the two key concepts we'll cover today are secret to relationships and DISC. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about my story so that you can relate to it. You might say, who is this Minesh guy and why is he qualified? Why should we listen to this guy about relationships? Maybe one of you have thought of that. Okay, it's very likely. Okay, so I'll give you my background. I've been married for 23 years to my beautiful wife, Kim. And 2 weeks after our wedding, she ended up in hospital with lupus. And she was in there for a week. And then a year and a half later, she had even a severe flare-up where she ended up in hospital for 2 weeks in a very bad situation, eventually had to go through chemotherapy. And she went through chemotherapy for roughly about 18 months, initially starting once every month and then once every other month. And during this course of time in a new marriage, our relationship was very rocky to say the least, right? And this is the time when my family is from India, so they are all in India, they're not here. Her family is here. My wife is actually born here, but her family comes from China. So here we are with different cultures, different backgrounds, very little family support from my side, and we are struggling with our relationship. It would have been very easy to call it quits. I didn't know how to communicate. She didn't know what was going through and all that kind of stress. But I come from a culture where we don't believe in divorces. Now, I'm not judging anybody. I'm just telling you my opinion. So I chose to learn and invest my time about relationships. I read pretty much anything I could find. And some of you are familiar with the book 5 Love Languages that Rick Ruby talks a lot about. I'm the guy who told him about it. Okay. And a lot of these workshops I went to, one-on-one consulting, counseling, whatever I needed to, along with my wife, so that I could learn about relationships. And now my wife and I are best friends. We love spending time with each other, and we respect each other, and it's just fun. And so based on real-world practical experience, not MA psychology in relationships, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I believe in, and Bill and Sam believe in the same thing, real world street smart is much better than getting a lot of degrees. Would you agree with me on that, Bill and Sam?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Exactly. So that's where my relationship knowledge comes from, is personal experience. And every time I do this kind of a teaching, I improve because I get to learn from you as well. Okay? So let's cover the secret to relationships first. So what is the purpose of communication? And again, it's going to be interactive. I know it might be a little slow on webinars, and I know that happens. But for me to feel that I'm actually communicating, okay, I'm getting some, what I call, some clarity about your results. So what do you think is the purpose of communication?
It is to
relate, yeah.
transfer an idea I have
Okay.
to you from me.
You have the booklet? If you're screening through the booklet, you have the answer, right? Okay. It is to elicit a desired response from the other person. It is to elicit a desired response from the other person. Now, Bill, did you get my booklet on relationships?
I did, and I'm going to go grab it right now.
Well,
You
there's
want me to
just
grab it?
one?
Go ahead.
No,
There's just one.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 15, 18 people in here, Minesh. We just have one booklet. So if you, are you going to fill in those
No,
blanks
I'm not.
or what?
I'm not. I just want to make sure somebody has it. That's all I'm trying to say. You don't have to go looking for it now. So I want to make sure you understand that. I just want to make sure somebody got it. That's all I'm trying to say.
We do.
Okay, good. Everybody has access to the ebook that they can download, and I'll email the link again so they can download as a refresher. Okay?
Okay.
So sometimes some people, like I was speaking at Rick Ruby's Summit branch in North Carolina in June, and one guy had the booklet and he had memorized the darn destination. I'm surprised he was able to say right away, which was surprising. So, okay, so how can you change your approach based on this definition? Because most of us believe the purpose of communication is either listening, either talking to somebody else, but it's rarely with the goal that we need something from the other person. And unless we are achieving that goal, we are really not effectively communicating. Okay? Now, we may not always get that, but we should be aware of the purpose. And if you're not aware of the purpose, we are not going to be that effective. Okay? So that's really the reason we want to be clear on what we want to get from the communication. So here is what, maybe some of you have a writing pad, maybe you don't, but decide on one relationship that you want to work on. Right now, just think of one person that you want to make an impact in terms of relationship. Now, it could be your boss, your neighbor, your team member, maybe a client, or somebody else. Think of one person that you will actually now use today's information to impact that relationship. So take a quick second. I'll stop for a second. So think of one person. Okay? Everybody found one person that they want to work on?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So that is the person that you're going to make an impact on. Now, what I would encourage Bill and Sam to do is to get people to have this as a afterward kind of a recap conversation a few days from today, just in order to get some clarity about what has been implemented. Because without implementation, there is no result, right? Okay. Now, we may know about the emotional bank account. So I'll cover this information relatively quickly because most people understand this. Every relationship is based on what? It's like a trust, right? Trust. So trust is the number one thing. Every relationship is based on trust, okay? And the bigger the emotional bank account, the higher the trust. So how do you increase trust? In a simple way, if you keep promises and you exceed, you start building more and more trust. So if you say you'll show up at 1 o'clock in a meeting, but you show up at 1:05, 1:10, 1:15, you're going to lose trust in that relationship. But if I said I'm going to be there at 1 and I'm there at 1, the relationship trust is there, right? So how do you increase emotional bank account? It's called deposits, and they increase emotional bank account. Withdrawals decrease emotional bank account. So I would love to hear from any one of you what you think is a deposit for you, right? Because I want this to be interactive. I know there are a few people here, but if we don't engage people, I don't think we'll get as much value from it. So give me one example. Any one person, one deposit in a relationship.
Stable.
Somebody
What's
that
that?
seeks to understand what I'm interested in, my goals.
Yes. Okay. So
Seeking to understand.
seeking to understand, that's a good one, right? We'll talk about that too. So that's an easy exercise. Now, do you folks actually implement that exercise in your meetings?
What exercise, Minesh?
Did you say seeking to understand?
Yeah, yes. Danny said seeking to understand would be one way to increase the emotional bank account.
Correct. Okay. Very good. Now, some of you are familiar with the 7 habits of highly effective people. One of the habits he talks about is seek first to understand. And if you implement that in your meetings will go much faster. But the biggest result which will happen in those meetings is that people will walk away feeling totally bought into whatever the meeting was about. Okay? Whatever the result was, whatever the commitment was. And seeking first to understand works very simply. You repeat what the other person said in a way that the previous person who said it knows that you understood it. Okay? So all that is if Sam said something to Bill, will repeat back to Sam what Sam said, that Sam feels that Bill understood what Sam was talking about. If you start implementing that on a consistent basis in your meetings, you'll be surprised at the effectiveness of these meetings, by the way. Okay, so deposit, flowers on a birthday or a certain occasion or no occasion at all, taking somebody out for dinner, sending a gift to somebody, all of those are part of emotional bank account. But the easiest one to remember is keeping your promises. Okay?
Okay.
Let's go to the next one. Okay? So understanding the importance of deposits and withdrawals in relationships. Here is the problem in all the relationships we have, that we need to act with awareness that we will make withdrawals unknowingly. As the relationship is longer, has been there for a while, you will make withdrawals even when you don't know it. Now maybe none of you may remember the equations, but it's easier to find flaws in a person and the way they act towards you the longer you know the person. Fair enough? So if you've been married to somebody, your expectations grow over a time period. They don't decrease over the time period. You start expecting more. Like taking the garbage out might be one of them, and the day you miss the taking out the garbage might be a problem, like Rick Ruby was mentioning in May, correct? Okay.
Yeah.
So what we need to do, so putting in a concerted and committed effort to make deposit consistently. That is the secret. So if you have an important relationship, you and I need to be focused on having structure, systems, processes, or the minimum is awareness to make deposits in that relationship consistently. So what are some of the things that you already do which work? So Sam, to give an example, and Bill here, is for your 50 top relationships as an example, right? You may be sending a birthday card on a regular basis. You may be sending a mailer on a monthly basis. You may be calling them once a month. You may be going and visiting them every other month at least. Sam and Bill, please share with me so that I'm sure that I get to know, but also the other people are reminded about the activities you do to build those relationships.
Yeah, so I mean, when it comes to let's talk about our referral partners, we have something called an accounts pyramid where we keep count looking back 12 months of how our relationships are going, and we measure that by how many transactions we've done for them in the last 12 months. And so, our system workflows are geared to, if a channel account is somebody that gives us that we do more than 12, we help more than 12 families per year finance a home, and we want to meet with those people quarterly on a one-on-one event type thing. We actually have a budget for their birthday gift. And so each one down the line, whether it's an A, B, or C, or a channel account, has a different type of workflow for how we interact with them and make those deposits.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that. So now that gives a little bit more context that the secret is doing those things consistently, right? Because it is going to be a matter of time, and I'm sure you are pretty close to perfect, but sometimes the files don't go the right way, right? Okay? Something is missing, takes a little longer, the client isn't as happy as you thought they would be. That will pretty much always happen with us. We are all human beings. We don't control everything. We have our own good days and bad days, right? Okay? So because those things will happen, if you have made enough deposits, the bank account balance is high enough that even if you make some withdrawals, the deposits have been enough to cover any withdrawals. Is that making sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Okay, good. What happens when the withdrawals keep exceeding over a time period?
Trust is eliminated.
Correct. What happens next?
Relationships are damaged and oftentimes broken when that happens.
Exactly. In personal life, there might be a divorce. In professional life, the client fires you or you fire the client, or the employee gets fired or the employee runs away, right? Okay? So those are things which will always happen once the trust is low. So again, remember, I told you to focus on at least one relationship. So ask yourself, is the trust high or trust low? If the trust is low, you better start working on it fast, because if the relationship is important for you, then over a time period, the trust keeps going lower and lower, you will lose the relationship. Okay, good. Any questions?
No.
Okay, very good. So let us go to this part. I'll cover very quickly, and a couple of slides I'll take more time on it. Most of us have been mismanaged at some point. So I'll give you my story here. I wrote a book called Stop Hiring Losers, and the reason was that as a bachelor's in electrical engineering, master's in systems engineering and management, being in the computer programming field for roughly 12 years, I found out my strengths weren't the best in the computer programming field, sitting at a booth in front of a computer for 8 hours. That's not my style. I like talking to people, as you can imagine. I like, obviously, to have more interaction than just with an inanimate object like a computer, right? Okay? But none of my employers ever did the DISC assessment, which all of you have done, right? If they had done that assessment on me, they would have found out that my strength was different from what they were putting me in that particular job for. So over a course of period, guess what? I was frustrated, not obviously the best performer, looking for a way out, and eventually I did quit, because I had to find something which was more fulfilling for me, for my natural abilities and talents. Which is why using the DISC report is very powerful. So you are using your best strength towards whatever role that you need to complete, and hence you will be happier, and the team also will get better results. Okay? So that's my quick story there. Now I'm going to cover a couple of objectives about today, about the DISC part of it. The number one part is we need to know what this model is, which is the behavioral model. Understand your own behavioral design. So as we communicate, and you all have read your own profiles, I'll tell you a couple of things to look at. Then recognize, understand, and appreciate others. So we'll cover a few slides on that. Adapt for enhanced communication. So if your style is different from somebody else's style, you and I need to learn how to improve our communication. And then people read all 4 factors. So here's how it looks like. There are 4 things you can observe about other people which will tell you what type of a person that person might be. The tone of voice. If the tone is louder, monotonous, soft, it can tell you whether it's a dominance, influencing, steadiness, and compliance, and we'll cover that. Same thing with their body language. Words, do they use more words, less words? Pace, are they fast or are they slow? So once you start noticing this about other people, you will know what kind of a profile this person has. So here are the four dimensions of normal behavior. The number one is dominance, which is D factor, which is how you handle problems and challenges. Influence is how you handle people and influence others. Steadiness is how you handle change and pace yourself. And compliance is how you handle rules and procedures set by others. Again, I'll cover more in detail, so you don't have to memorize this. You already have the, I think I sent the workbook a little bit to Bill. Bill, did you get the workbook as well?
Yes.
Okay. So the DISC measures what we call the how we walk, talk, shop, drive, and play. It's the language of people watching. Just by observing, you can learn about them a lot more than you realize. So where does it apply? When a client walks in and you pay attention to how they talk, how they walk, you will have a lot easier time in understanding how to communicate with that person, because now you have paid attention to how they talk and how they walk. So famous examples, again, we will go through this a little bit more, but D, dominants, are people who are acting like a boss, right? Do this, don't do this. They're always directing people. And that is their style. If they are very dominant type of people, right, they will be assertive. I is influencing, which means they are warm, bubbly, friendly, cheerleader type of person. So when you walk into a restaurant, the person who greets you with a smile is likely of influencing type. S is steadiness. This is a person who is warm but not bubbly. They are warm in the sense they like to connect with people, they are team players, they are loyal, but they don't like rocking the boat, which is why they are steady. Compliance are people who like details, who like paths, following procedures, rules, like this is how it should be done. They're more interested in following the process than the result part of it. Okay? So here is the understanding that we need to cover. So needs-driven behavior of DISC. So D is the dominant type, the bossy, assertive person. They have a high need for control. So they are control freaks on one side. They don't want to give up control. I is influencing, high need to verbalize ideas. That's a very simple way to put it. They love to talk. Okay, they want to be center of attention. S is steadiness, high need to accommodate, which means they'll try to please everybody. Their goal is, let's not ruffle any feathers. They are very good with loyal roles. They like to stay committed to a particular cause or an organization. Okay. C is high need to follow rules and policies. So these could be analytical kind of people who want to make sure things are done the right way every time. They are more process oriented rather than results oriented. So let's cover a couple of case studies here as questions. And again, we will cover some more ideas about these people, so it will be a refresher at the next stage here. So let's read the case study 1. So to make it easier for people to follow, instead of me, somebody from your end, Bill, Sam, anybody in your office, can you read the slide? Then just read the case study number 1.
So
Somebody can read that for me.
Yeah, I'll read it. Case study 1, known for his loyalty to friends and as a team player, hard worker, and a thorough researcher, puts a premium on friendship, sometimes to a fault, a man at peace with himself, relates easily in small groups, but freezes in public forums, is a worrier, top achiever who is cool under pressure, family is sacred, shortcoming may be his inability to act quickly to unexpected turn of events.
Good. So anybody wants to take a guess at what the primary tendency is?
S.
Okay. Why is it S?
Loyal, steady, worrier.
So the warrior is different. Warrior is different. Loyalty and team player is an S. Okay? It says relates easily and warmly in small groups. Doesn't say big groups, small groups. That's again an S. Okay, good. What is the secondary tendency, do you think?
C.
Susie said C.
What is it? C as in cat, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that is correct. So here are the words for it. Thorough researcher. That's analytical. Okay? Warrior, W-O-R-R-I-E-R. That is also very common. So when you have those words, that's the C. So great answers on this one. Let's pick case study 2.
Case study 2. This person is motivated to be amiable, easygoing, and relaxed, is a natural team player, and enthusiastic, likes to get results through others, may make some decisions without gathering all the facts necessary, usually very optimistic, may be seen as unrealistic, dislikes comfortable talking with all types of people, may tend to judge others by their verbal skills, shortcomings may be lack of time control, and his natural tendency to trust others may cause him to trust the wrong people.
I.
Very good. Yep. So the answer I heard is I. Is that right?
Yes.
That's correct.
Yes.
Good. So what are some of the words that trigger the word I for you?
Natural team player, enthusiastic, amiable.
Okay. So,
Comfortable
Yeah.
talking.
so yeah, natural team player to some degree. Enthusiastic is number 1. Gets results through others is also I. Could sometimes be B. Okay. May make some decisions without gathering all the facts. That's typical about I. Usually very optimistic. That's also an I. May be seen as unrealistic. Also an I. So all of that is an I. So let's go to the secondary tendency. What is that?
D. D.
Someone
Any
said
other
D.
answers? Okay, is that your final answer?
Team player.
Who is a team player?
R. Oh, yeah.
Dislikes conflict.
S also.
S. Okay. So an S is a natural team player and dislikes conflict. Okay. So this is a primary tendency of I, the secondary tendency of C. Let's go to the next one.
Case study 3. Highly competitive and somewhat egotistical, is always looking for a new challenge. High energy level, may keep co-workers frustrated, trying to keep up. True visionary in his thinking, always looking at the big picture. Well informed on many subjects, can talk spontaneously on almost anything, and has an opinion on everything. Is seen as a risk taker and charismatic, especially where women are concerned. Has very private side to his personality that few people see, and therefore requires a special place where he can be alone to think periodically. Shortcoming may be his inability to sustain energy for project completion after the challenge has been conquered.
D.
D as in dominance, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's very clear. So highly competitive is very clear, right? Egotistical, looking for new challenge, high energy, all of those are D. Very clear. Thank you for the answer. What is the secondary tendency you think?
I.
Aye.
Or D.
Yeah, so there's a lot of D in there.
We're going to need help with that one, man.
So I'm going to read out to you. Has very private side to his personality that few people see, and therefore requires a special place where he can be alone to think periodically.
S?
S?
S? Isn't that C?
A C.
C.
It's a C.
Thinker?
See again, S will be people. They don't mention anything about people here in terms of wanting to relate to people. S has a side of being private, but in terms of they want to be around people. Okay? Private in terms of
Okay.
expressing themselves, but they want to be with people. That's very key. This one says alone, which is not an S. Okay? Good. So I would love to hear some feedback on how this exercise helped you.
Feedback.
It just puts context around the ideas. You know, it just makes them real.
Yeah.
And again, you can get more of this clarity as you keep paying attention to the people around you. And as you read each other's profile, it becomes easier for you to kind of, in your mind, form a picture about who that person is and similar people in your life. Okay? Great.
Okay.
Any questions?
No, that's good.
Thank you. Now let's talk about recognizing other people. Because we did the exercise and now we are doing kind of a refresher again, so it will be easier for you to now use the case studies in the future. So let's talk about D, the tone of voice. And because I don't want to be monotonous, the same guy reading, let's pick a woman who can read. Is there a woman who will read this for me?
We don't have any of those. Jody.
Okay. Tone of voice, strong, clear, confident, fast-paced, volume, loudest, forceful, body language, uses direct eye contact, points finger, leans towards you.
Good. So is that clear enough of a description of a D for you? Any questions on that?
No.
No.
Okay, good. Next, go to I.
Me again? Okay. Tone of voice, animated, friendly, rambling explanations, volume, fairly loud, casual, body language, smiles a lot, uses expressive gestures.
Good. You have in your mind an image of somebody who fits the I. Because if it doesn't, I want to make sure we go over this. This is somebody who dominates the conversation, is very, what I would call, bubbly, and they're animated, which means they speak loudly with high-pitched voices, and they will talk for a while. Anybody have any doubts in recognizing this person?
Nope.
No, that one's pretty clear.
Okay, good. Let's go to S.
Tone of voice, low voice tone, warm, detail-oriented, volume is soft and methodical, body language makes small hand gestures, relaxed and non-emotional.
Okay, good. So this is more an introverted person. So they're not going to dominate the conversation, right? Their voices are not loud either. They don't make fast-paced movement either. So if you see somebody who is a little bit more shy, you are looking at the left side of this particular picture of the PowerPoint slide. Okay? Any questions on recognizing steady people?
Nope.
Okay, good. Let's go to C.
Tone of voice is monotone, precise, cool, aloof. Their volume is quiet and deliberate. Body language, very few, if any, hand gestures, direct eye contact, and controlled.
Yeah. So if somebody looks very cool and aloof, they are likely to be a C, especially if they don't act assertive. Because if they act assertive, they are going to be a D. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
they are more methodical. They are more methodical, which means they are deliberate in their approach. And that's good to know about them. So again, if you are interviewing people, if you're talking to a client, if you're talking to a referral partner, and you're able to pay attention and find out whether they belong to D, I, S, or C, your chances of improving your communication are greatly enhanced. Good. Any questions on recognizing D, I, S, or C?
No.
Okay. Let's go to the next page. Let's see. This is the what I would call the summary. So D is a fast talker, not people friendly, which means they will be abrupt, rude. I, fast talker, people friendly. S is slow talker, people friendly. C is slow talker, not people friendly, which is the aloof person. So here is the simple way to ask. Do I talk slow or fast? Am I people friendly or not? And if you are able to answer these two questions, you have a very good chance of figuring out whether the person is a D, I, S, or C. So I would highly encourage the person who receives people at the front desk as an example, right? And they would kind of observe the person, slow or fast, people friendly or not. And that will give you a little bit more clue on how to interact with this person, right? So if the reception person then brings the loan officer or whoever the person is going to be met and say, hey, I think this person is more like a D, take a look. Great. Then the person is mentally prepared on how to interact with that person. Do you think that will be helpful?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Or for example, somebody calls in, a lead calls in, and the person who receives the call is asking these questions in their mind. Do they talk slow or fast? So somebody called in, let's say John calls in, and John is rattling off at a fast pace. Your brain says D or I. Okay. Does this person sound friendly as a person, or does this person just fire off orders, right? Do this for me, do that for me, or it's like, hey, no, then you know whether they're people friendly or not. That time again, the person who is receiving the call to somebody they don't know very well has an opportunity to find out whether the person is a D, I, S, or C. You see how this exercise will improve your chances of communicating?
Yes.
Okay, good. Now, understanding others. Now I will jump through this page a little bit faster, okay? But this is what you can kind of use as a cheat sheet with each other as well as people, and just print it out and keep it with you, okay? So understanding others. So D is rapid pace, limited emotion. Do expect them to be blunt, be quick. Don't ramble or chit chat. Don't waste time. Don't offer assurances you can't deliver. So each one of these has the do's and the don'ts for communicating. I'm not going to cover each one of them today, but I think it's easy enough for you to understand that you want to communicate with them the way they like to be communicated to, right? And if you learn about their style, because if they talk fast, you should talk fast as well. So you are mirroring them. You are doing what they do. That makes it easier for the person to build rapport with you because they think you are like them. Now, Bill and Sam, I'm sure, and some of you obviously are very much familiar with this process. But who do you like to talk to? Somebody different from you or somebody like you?
Like you.
Yeah.
Exactly. For example, let's say you are into football and you are like, hey, if somebody's talking about football and you like talking about football, guess what? You will form a match very quickly. If somebody says LA Dodgers is a great team and you also like LA Dodgers, guess what? It's an easy connection, right? And that's why if you do things similar to how they do, then they will feel connecting at a deeper level with you. It only comes from paying attention. That's the only way to do this. There is no other way, okay? If you pay attention, you are going to be fine. Like another core student locally here, he knows I'm very politically, aware of certain things. Now, he invited me to an event where a year and a half ago, Dr. Ben Carson, who's running for president at that time, he was not even well known in that community, okay? He was here as a guest speaker at his alma mater. So he brought me in as a friend. And it was fun to listen to Dr. Ben Carson. I've been following this guy for 20 years because, I just like listening to people who are very well read. He has written some really good books. So he knows my background, so he can start a conversation about somebody in that field and immediately find a connection with me. You know what I'm talking about? Okay? Because he knows that's what I like. I follow cricket because I'm from India, right? So I like cricket. So if somebody starts talking about cricket, obviously I'll find a connection. At the last score, there was somebody from South Africa who lives in Tennessee. He's in the Corps, and obviously he was playing cricket in South Africa when he was younger. He still plays a little bit here in Tennessee. Boom, it was an immediate connection. So if you find some things which are common, you're going to find it easier. Now, you can't always find everything in common with people, but you can learn about their style of talking to you, and you can reciprocate that way, and you'll find a better connection. So if somebody talks fast, you talk fast. Somebody talks slow, you talk slow. Is that easy and simple enough for people to understand here?
Yeah. So is the goal, Minesh, to like try and recognize their primary and secondary, basically letters?
Correct.
And then okay.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why if you had this as an exercise for somebody receiving the phone call, or the first person who is greeting the person and actually writes down, hey, John and Martha were here. I think John is a T, Martha is an S. It will help you improve in your life, whether in personal and professional, in finding ways to communicate with people. Is that making sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Sorry about that. I've been struggling with some cough. So here is something which we won't do now, but you can do this as a team later. Okay? We talked about finding one person you want to improve your relationship with. So you can print this page out and actually write it out for each one of you. So to communicate more effectively with such and such, I need to do the following. So for example, my wife is opposite to me. She's more of an S and C than I am, obviously. Okay? So to effectively communicate with her, I have to learn that she is going to be slow in her communication. What does that mean? If I ask her a question, she will take a little time before responding. My tendency would be to answer the question for her or prompt her for answers. Anybody guilty of what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Okay? What would be the better thing to do? Stay silent for a few seconds and let the person respond. For people who like fast, it's almost like eternity. It's like, get on with it, man. I just asked a simple question, right? Okay? But they need time to process. Give them time to process. Number two, she doesn't like sudden changes. So if there is something to be done, I have to give her enough notice to ask her to do something for me. She's also a C, which means she likes a process. For example, she has learned Indian cooking because she's very good at following process. I give her a recipe, she follows it to the T, and the food turns out excellent. I'm more of an I, which means I don't follow rules and procedures. Okay, just for your awareness here. So if you give me a recipe, it's going to be a disaster. Why? Because I hate following recipes. Anybody relate to what I'm talking about?
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Okay? So to communicate more effectively with whoever that is, you can do that exercise. And Bill and Sam, I recommend you ask people to do this exercise. And again, it's personal or professional, it doesn't matter, but it's an exercise to get better. Because in relationships and communication, you can't get better in one area and not improve in the other area. It's just not possible. Right? It's just the way it is. If you get better in relationships, you get better in relationships everywhere. Okay? And then write down the benefits you would have. Go ahead. Any comments?
No, that's a good exercise.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, because that will make a big difference. So this is the final place we are at. People don't get up in the morning thinking about how they can make it a bad day for you. Why is that the case? Because when we interact with people, we think they're out to do us in, which means they want to make it bad for us. No, they are doing what they want to do. They have no interest in us. Okay? So by personalizing it to us, we are making it harder to communicate with that person. Okay, good. So I'm leaving the next couple of minutes here for answer any questions you have, or also any comments you have, and then I have a small request for you. Go ahead.
Okay, so Minesh, this is Sam. Do you advise us, so, I mean, we all did the DISC test.
Correct.
Other than that last exercise, I guess, what would you advise to do with those to, you know, get the most out of them for each other?
Yes.
I mean, obviously, just going and reading them all is one thing that can be done, but what's something we can do that's practical that can help us with that information?
Correct. So hang on for a second.
Okay.
I'll bring up the page here. So do you see the page here? Success Insights Wheel, Understanding Others?
Yes.
Okay. So every one of you in your report has 2 pages. One is called Do's for communicating. The other is Don'ts for communicating. It says actually ways to communicate and ways not to communicate, but the idea is the same. Everybody understand what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay. So what I would recommend is each one of you have maybe 10-15 minutes with each other. So it will take some time before you get through the whole company, right? Again, the ones you interact more often with, you do it right away. The ones you don't interact as much, you will do a little bit later, right? So who are 2 people who work closely together? Give me the names.
Bill and Sam.
Any 2. Bill and Sam, okay. Who's the other one that said?
Say Danny and Linda.
Danny and Linda. So what Danny and Linda would do is sit down with each other's report, okay? And then looking at those 2 pages, they would ask this question. So Danny would ask Linda, out of this list of ways to communicate, which are the top 3 ways you like to be communicated to? Okay? Linda tells Danny, and then Danny just highlights those 3. Then again, the next question is, Linda, out of these choices on how not to communicate with you, which are the 3 that you definitely want people not to do? Then Danny highlights those 3 that Linda tells. Now you switch the other side. So now Linda looks at Danny's report and says, Danny, tell me, out of these, which 3 should I communicate in a way that you like, and 3 you don't like, so I should know that as well. So if you did that one-on-one for about 10 minutes each person, it will make a big difference in helping create a little bit more synergy and coherence in your communication. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's good, the do's and don'ts section. Something we could probably even do as a group, spend 5-10 minutes of a meeting, go through 1 or 2 people at a time. So
Exactly. So again, how you want to do it is going to be up to you. The other thing which I would recommend, and this is for Bill and Sam mainly and any department heads you might have, is there is a page called Areas for Improvement. Discuss that list with the person. So I'm just picking this for example. So let's say Sam and Linda. So Sam has Linda's report, and Linda and Sam go over the list which says Areas for Improvement. At that time, Sam and Linda come to one area that they feel Linda should be working on. The next pages, I think, tell you the personal and professional development. Okay? So then you can find actual action steps in order to help do that. Okay? So what that will do is make Linda and Sam aware of what Linda should be working on, and there is a way to track the progress. In another 30 days, you both can have a conversation to say how the progress has been made. So people who are managing other people should use the Areas for Improvement for more effectiveness. Any comments or questions on that?
that makes sense, Minesh.
Okay, good. Did I answer those questions for you, or do you have any other questions?
Yeah, does anybody have any questions for Minesh? I mean, for this part 1?
I would say, Minesh, because there's different personalities, and a D is different than an I, and is different than an S, and different than a C. and we're all trying to adapt to the others, how do you know which way to adapt? Just, I mean, a D has to be more patient and a S has to be faster, or I mean, are you just saying everyone should adapt to the other style? Because I think a D will be more dominant in any conversation.
So if I understand correctly, you want to know who should be adapting?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, whoever is more committed to improving the relationship. Okay? Whoever is more willing.
Okay.
I know that sounds strange, but not everybody will take initiative. That's just the reality of life, right? Okay?
Yeah.
Some people are more committed than others. The one who feels committed will do it. They will also get better results. Because again, remember, the quality of life is dependent on quality of relationships. So if you master what I taught you today, you are the one who is going to get the benefit. So don't wait for the other person. Do it yourself. Did I answer your question, or was it something else?
No, yeah,
No,
that's a
good
great
answer.
answer. Great answer.
Anybody else have any questions? No?
Okay, I would like to hear from a couple of people. What is one thing you got out of our conversation today? Just a couple of people.
You're from India.
No, no, sorry.
Thank you.
Then I need to
Anybody
pause
else?
for 3 seconds before my wife responds to the questions I have.
That's a good one.
I was gonna
That's
say
a good
my
one. That's a good one. Anybody else?
I learned, well, just identifying just each individual, the D, I, and the S and C. I've heard about it so much, but literally this kind of brought it to a better understanding and like being able to identify it in like my peers.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. I know you all are more familiar with some other teams. Yeah, go ahead. Who else was there?
Oh, it's the same. If like I mean Minesh, over the years, you know, I've heard, you know, Josh Sigmund teach about DISC, you teach about DISC, you know, different people, and as you each time you invest time to learn more about the D and the I and the S and the C, it becomes easier to recognize, easier to understand people. So, you know, try to take this away as a starting point to continue to learn to recognize that very quickly. Like Minesh can probably, you know, read somebody in 4 seconds what they are. I mean, sometimes I still have to go back to a report and read what are the characteristics of a high S or a high C. But after, you know, if we can get to a point where it becomes more second nature, that's where you really get the benefit of knowledge like this. So.
People have read their
Absolutely.
profile and came back. Pretty much everyone? Okay.
I don't remember it.
I think the other value is just having a common language that we can all speak and talk around, you know,
Correct.
that, like helps the context of those conversations.
Yep. Definitely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So here is what. Can I make a request of you?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. Now, Bill and Sam might be familiar that Rick Ruby and the core are pushing hard on getting video testimonials. Is that true?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, I love them too. Okay? So everybody or anybody who does a short video testimonial, again, it doesn't have to be longer than 60 seconds. The way it usually starts is, hey, my name is Sam Hansen, and I'm the, you know, at Caliber Lending in California. Minesh went through the DISC profile training with our team, and what I got out of the training was that's pretty much all I'm looking for. So everybody who does that, I'll send a copy of that relationship booklet individually to you, autographed from me. Okay? So everybody who does that has that as a gift from me. So the sooner you do it, just email me saying, Minesh, I did this testimony here, and, you know, so then I will know who to send it to. Okay? So we will find out who really got some value, hopefully are willing to also make some deposit in my account as well, right? Okay, so I'll appreciate that tremendously. Any other comments or questions? Is everybody clear on what I asked for? It's basically asking for a short video testimonial. Okay?
Yep.
I would appreciate
Hey,
if you can do that for me. Yes.
Minesh,
Yes.
so I've been to several classes when we're learning about how to identify thinkers, feelers, and knowers.
Correct.
Just very quickly, those three, thinkers, knowers, feelers, where do those three words fall into the DISC? And how, maybe it's a longer conversation, and we can have another hour with you later. But where would you put those in?
Yeah, the feelers are going to be more of an S. The knowers are going to be the D. Okay, could be an I sometimes, but C will be the thinkers.
Okay. So basically, knowers DI, thinkers C, feelers S. That's their primary.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Now again, not everybody is going to be 100% like that, so I want to make sure you understand that. But that's going to be a general way of categorizing these people.
Okay, and then out of a large population or all the population, what percentage of people are the highest? Just like if you randomly ask 10,000 people, what is their primary? Is S the high? Like 60% of people are S, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
40% are S.
No.
In the neighborhood of 40% is S.
Are S?
Yeah.
How about I?
Majority of them are S. Yeah. D is around 18%. Okay. And the remaining are split between I and S, I and C.
The rest split between I and C. Okay. All right. Cool.
So your chances of catering to S are the highest.
Yeah. That's good to know. Okay.
Well, thanks for the time. I really appreciate the opportunity. I want each one of you to know that I don't take this lightly. Why? Because with one small, whatever you learned, an insight that you got from here and you went and applied, I guarantee you the quality of your relationship with that one person will be altered forever. And I really feel privileged. Like everybody has a calling. My calling is to help you improve the quality of relationships in your life. And I don't get to do this unless you give me the opportunity. So I want to thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you,
Minesh.
You're welcome.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.